Yeah, one.
It's a very small club. It's a club. So, my name is Alan Mills. I'm the Executive Director of the Uptown People's Law Center, located about 2 blocks south of here. We've been in the neighborhood since about 1975. What do? We represent foreign working people. We represent people who are being evicted from their houses. We represent people who are disabled, who have been wrongfully denied Social Security benefits. And we represent prisoners whose rights have been abused in our massively overbuilt correction system in the United States. We only work in one thing. So why am I here about tiny houses? You know, I've lived in Uptown since about 1978. And this community has rather dramatically changed in those years. When I moved here, it was full of low-income people, and it still has a lot of them, but at that time, most low-income people in this neighborhood lived in private houses. They just paid their work, they went to work, they paid their rent, they survived. A lot of activity on the street, people hanging out on the corners all day long, people playing horseshoes out on the street, cars going by, people fixing their cars right on the street. You don't see that stuff anymore. Now you see Jaguars parked on the street. Now the poor people who live in this neighborhood are largely living in subsidized housing, which is a good thing, and it didn't happen by accident. It happened because people in this neighborhood fought to have low-income housing here, fought to keep subsidized housing here. This community wanted subsidized housing when every other community in the city was saying, no, we don't want it. Or the federal court said you can't put more low-income housing in some communities that are overwhelmed. So for many years, Uptown has gradually changed so that today, the vast majority of privately owned housing, or either condominiums or fairly high rent apartments, a couple $1,000s for one bedroom is not unheard of anywhere in Uptown. Something most people can't afford. And remember, when we talk about numbers, for people on Social Security disability, SSI, their income is a little less than $750 a month. So obviously, if you're paying $1,000 a month, you're not on SSI. That's my definition of low income, something that somebody on SSI can afford and can still live their lives. There's not much of that housing left. But there's still some in Uptown. Unfortunately, what there is in really bad shape. We just represented somebody who had a shower, but there were actually no tiles in the shower. They had all fallen down, and they wanted to put garbage bags over where the tiles should be. There was a toilet, but the toilet upstairs leaked through the roof, so she had a huge big umbrella, a golf umbrella she put over the toilet, so you could sit on it without the upstairs toilet coming down on you as you're trying to go to the bathroom. It didn't have a sink at all. You're supposed to wash your hands in the bathroom. The landlord still insisted that she pay full rent, though. Said that nothing needs to be fixed here. She finally got sick of this, withheld 1 month's rent. He almost to throw her out of the house, saying you have to pay full rent, even though the law is very clear that if you as a landlord, don't maintain your house, you as a tenant don't have to pay full price for it. Well, she didn't get evicted. We entered into an agreement with the landlord that she could stay there, and he agreed to fix it, and he agreed not to raise her rent. So she's saved, but in the meantime, Uptown has lost, in the last 7 years, about 1,000 units, a little more than 1,000 units of low-cost housing, privately owned low-cost housing. Right up here on Lawrence Avenue, we lost the Lawrence House. Used to be all low income. Now it's a very nice pool, fancy lobby, little mini apartments. They didn't actually make the apartments any bigger. They just kind of doubled the price and put in granite countertop or countertop because it's only got about 3 square feet of countertop. You're not supposed to actually cook in it, but apparently there's a whole bunch of single people who don't mind living in these tiny little apartments and never actually coming home. They just sleep there. They go out in restaurants and clubs and all that kind of stuff to eat and drink and party all night long. I don't know who all these people are, but that building is full of them now. Same with the Norman Hotel down on Wilson Avenue, down the other side of the L tracks going down there. The Norman Hotel used to be also low income, and half of it was rented out to people who had mental health problems, subsidized through programs, various programs. And the rest of it was all privately owned. Owners spent a lot of money rehabbing it, making sure that they could keep low-income people there. And then flats came along and bought it out, and it's also these many little luxury apartments. Chateau Hotel, down in just south of Irving on Broadway. Terrible place to live. Landlords had allowed it to deteriorate for years and years and years without putting a penny into it. So I'm not going to say it's a great place to live. But people on SSI could afford to live there. They were paying $500 a month, which is a lot if you only make $750, but at least it's affordable. It's not anymore. It was close to. All those people were forced to move out. Now it's fancy little apartments. And then lots and lots of individual buildings that have gone condo or high rent or whatever. We thought the Wilson Men's Club was going to survive. Over the last few years, many people have fought to keep it open. There have been demonstrations in front of Alderman Kaplan's office. He tried to close it a couple different times. First thing he did was try to bring in a raft of building inspectors, go through the whole building, wrote up 200 or so violations on the building. The owner actually fixed all those violations, much to the alderman's dismay. So they kept it open. City inspectors come along, and they say, it's fine, no, we can't close this. So then the alderman introduces an ordinance in the city council saying, and the only reason places like the Wilson Men's Club are okay is because many years ago, they were outlawed in general, but the old ones were grandfathered in. So there's 2 left in Chicago, one here and one down, ironically, in the Loop, on South Park, which is right across from the Metropolitan Correctional Center, the jail downtown. So those are the only 2 left, the Ewing Annex and the one in Wilson. Only 2 of these little cubicle hotels. They don't have real rooms. They have like chicken wire on top. But they're really cheap, right? Again, $500 a month. So the landlord fixed it all, passed inspection. So then the alderman passed an ordinance, or introduced an ordinance, saying that the grandfather clause that let them stay open should be repealed. They'd have to come up to code, which of course they wouldn't, and ripping out all the insides. That too failed. Lots of demonstrations again. Lots of people from the community got together to make sure that didn't pass. We actually sent the city council a letter saying that it was one of the very few places in the city of Chicago that all races could live in a community that was also integrated for cheap rent. There's some other cheap rent places, but they're almost all in all black communities, a couple in all white communities, but the numbers of them that are in an integrated community was 0. And the city of Chicago has an obligation, under the law, federal law, to foster integrated communities. So here they're going to destroy a low-income building that was the only place people could live in an integrated community. So politics is wonderful. So the city of Chicago, the mayor comes up with this bright idea. He creates a brand new committee in city council, building and zoning, puts them together. It's a joint committee, two existing committees, and he assigns this ordinance to that committee, which then never meets. Never meets. So nobody voted against this ordinance, nobody voted for the favor of this ordinance. It's just sitting there in limbo in city council forever. So the alderman got frustrated, that meant it working. Finally, he puts enough pressure on the owner decides to sell. Now, a decade or so ago, some of us got together and forced the city to pass a SRO preservation ordinance. So you can't just sell a building that's an SRO. You actually have to give low-income people an opportunity, or low-income providers, not-for-profits, people like that, an opportunity to buy the buildings first. They have sort of right of first refusal. A bunch of not-for-profits negotiated with the owner. He wasn't really interested in selling. Eventually they made an offer, but it was an offer that was over time. I mean, very few people who were trying to build low-income housing have enough money to buy a whole bunch of units all at once. So they needed a mortgage, they needed a payment plan, that kind of thing. The owner said, nope, not interested in a payment plan. Somebody came along, offered him full price, cash money. Of course, he took that. Now it's in the process of being converted. The owner agreed to keep 15–20% of those units low income, but he all of a sudden changed the definition of low income. Remember I said there was like $500 a month in there before? There were like maybe 200–300 units like that in the Wilson Men's Club. Well, first of all, they're reducing the total number of units. So now there'll be a little less than 100, combining lots and lots of units. So it's less than 100. So he's only keeping about 15% of those. So instead of having a couple hundred units at $500 a month, he's going to have about 12 units. And he's redefined affordable to $1,000 a month. Which, of course, if you're back on that SSI person making $750 a month, you can't afford it anymore. So where have all these people gone? Where have this 1,000 units? Those people didn't just disappear. Well, many of them ended up under the bridge here, on Wilson or Lawrence or Foster. And many people in this room supported that group as the police continued to harass them over and over again. Many of you were there the day the police showed up, hundreds of police officers to make sure that they would move out for the new construction. Never seen such a concentration of police not for crime, but just to move people away, just to get people out of their houses. It was amazing. It was like the Gestapo. So they dispersed everywhere, and it was to fix the bridges. And the bridges didn't need fixing, they were kind of falling down. But where are they now? They're spread all over the place, and what's on those bridges now? They built a fence, they built pylons down the middle of it, they made half of it a bike path, half of it for walking. And you know where there are bike paths on the sidewalks in the city of Chicago? There. And there's one of them downtown, just to the west of the loop. And you know what was there before they put the bike paths on the sidewalk down there? A tent city. You get the pattern here? The city is using its powers to drive poor people out of their homes. They're using their powers to drive people out of Uptown, this community right here. And they're using the police force as the backup to do it. They're criminalizing being poor. Because the excuse they give for harassing people, because they moved out from under the viaducts, and they moved around the corner to the land that was free. Nobody was using it. They just set up their tents there on the vacant land. And the state said, no, there's an ordinance that says you can't put a tent on private property or municipal property. So they moved it over in the strip between the sidewalk and the street down there. And they said, no, there's an ordinance in the city of Chicago saying you can't rest anything on the sidewalk, on the public way. There is such an ordinance, but it was originally meant for stores. Like when everybody's coffee unloads their truck in the morning and they put the donuts or whatever they have out there now, on the sidewalk, you can't just leave them there if you're a store. You got to bring them inside. You can't leave them on the sidewalk out there. That's what it was designed for. It was never meant to have anything to do with homeless people. It was meant so the businesses didn't leave their stuff out on the sidewalk. But all of a sudden, when